even though this road has been closed for, I don't know, 2 weeks, I keep coming this way. And every time I do, repeatedly, almost every day, I think about how that perfectly illustrates the power of habit. All right.
Okay, so yeah, go on and explain how.
Okay, so it's psychology, right? It's a behavior ultimately. So I'm showing things that are habit for me, like every day I brush my teeth, every day I go home and I take my makeup off. I don't do that every day.
You gotta rest.
Right, I know, I should. But, you know, it's just, if you can start using that kind of psychology to build whatever habit it is you want to, it helps. And so instead of thinking of it as this big, huge, unattainable thing, think of it as something really simple, like, well, I brush my teeth every day.
Yeah. So that's a cue, right?
Yes. So I had some graphics made. Look at us, so prepared. I don't even know us right now. So this is how habits happen, okay? And this is if, you know, we're talking about forming a habit, breaking a habit. There's a cue, and then that triggers a craving, and then that leads to a behavior, and then the behavior has a reward of some sort. Otherwise you wouldn't keep doing it. So I always like to use smoking as an example, mostly because I feel like there's a little bit of shock factor when I say, yeah, I used to smoke like a pack a day. People are like, what? They're horrified, right? Because it doesn't fit with like these other parts of my life. But yes.
That was a long time ago.
It was a long time ago now, but I also smoked for a pretty long time, a habit that I picked up in college. You know, you are who you surround yourself with, and that's how I picked up that awful habit. I try to avoid using food as an example in this case because I don't like to characterize food as good or bad, and I feel like we do that to ourselves a lot. So if you think about smoking, you know, what's the cue? Well, for me, a lot of times it was something like morning coffee. I have a cup of coffee, I'm gonna have a cigarette, I have the cigarette, and the reward is all the stuff that goes on in your brain related to that. So it's similar with food or drinking or, you know, whatever your thing is. It can also be a positive thing. You know, you can look at that with exercise too, okay?
You get those rewards.
Absolutely.
You know, it's funny when you talk about that because one thing I did this year is I added a cup of water before my coffee.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, because, you know, you got to wait for the coffee to be made. So I would drink a cup of water. And I've noticed if I don't drink a cup of water, in the morning, I don't drink any water at all that day, I don't think. Like, especially if I don't work out.
Okay,
so I don't know,
good.
that's interesting. You can kind of identify ways to
Yep. And
sneak
so
things
then
in.
I think we have a graphic. I made two. So one is breaking habits, one is forming habits. They're very similar actually. So breaking habits. The first big one is find a replacement. So in the case of, I'll use Ben & Jerry's because a couple of years ago I fell into this really awful habit of drinking. It's kind of like drinking. Eating an entire pint of Ben & Jerry's ice cream, like almost every night.
That sounds like a good habit, a delicious one.
It became a problem, I am here to tell you. And so the first thing I had to do, I was like, I have to stop doing this. So I needed to replace that with something else. So instead of just, you know, cold turkey, I'm not doing this anymore. I started eating like a couple of pieces of dark chocolate every night instead of consuming an entire thing of Ben & Jerry's. So the replacement is the first piece. And then if we bring the graphic up again, I'll just take quickly through the remaining ones. Visualization. So visualize whatever change it is you're trying to make and yourself doing the thing, and then change your environment. So this is really easy. Don't have Ben & Jerry's in your house. Don't have cigarettes in your house, right? Okay, and then share your goals so there's some accountability. So like I kept telling my husband, I'm not eating a pint of Ben & Jerry's every day. And then he would come home from the grocery store with Ben & Jerry's. I'm like, oh God, you're killing me. So tell people and then get them on board with it.
Okay, and I interjected too much because we're out of time, but you do have a graphic for forming habits.
Let's just pop it up. It's essentially the same, okay? So the only difference is the first thing. So you want to stack it. So
like my water.
Like your water. So that's a perfect example. Whatever you're trying to form, attach it to something that's already a habit, and then the other things are exactly the same. Visualize it, change your environment, share your goal.
And then with your cat, I love that. Okay, so we all can form our habits this year.
Yes.
There's still time. Every day is a new day.
Every day's a new day.
I love this. Erin, thanks for being here.
Sure.